All right, everyone, we should be live actually with today's All right, everyone. I think I just had a technical issue. I'll wait and see. Let me check over here on YouTube as well. Takes me. YouTube used to make it easy. Now, not so much. Let's see if we're live. Yeah, I think that we're live. I believe. There's the man of the year, says Mike Alf. Can everyone see me fine? Cross-platform, YouTube, Odyssey, and Twitch. Odyssey is not playing it for me for some reason. Now it is. Okay, that's fine. Yes, we see you. Yeah, we had a technical issue just now. My camera cut out for absolutely no reason. I don't know. I'm a Luddite. Who knows? This is the Super Chat Q&A show. You may see that there is a pinned comment, though, actually on the YouTube live chat. You can go to my Substack article. We got to talk about Biden's various failings. In fact, I should probably bring the article up myself. Not that it really matters. Biden's failures are fairly self-evident. Substack. Ranking Joe Biden's top 10 failures so far. Mainly this will be Super Chat geared. On Twitch, I know I can't take Super Chats yet, but I will still go through some of the chat. We've got Odyssey as well. People can donate LBC there, which is great because LBC is crypto. Interchangeable with other crypto and therefore of intrinsic value more than fiat currency. That's the way it works. Ranking Joe Biden's top 10 failures so far, and this is just year one of the asterisk administration. Now, when I wrote this, I realized that not everyone will agree with my top 10 list because there are more than 10 major failures. I put them in the order that I feel is most appropriate. Like number one is obviously it's the inflation. Afghanistan is actually halfway down the list. And that's something that a lot of people thought would sink his presidency. And I said, no. It won't sink his presidency because the problem is the American public, like all other publics, has a short attention span for anything that's not domestic. So the economy, the border matters, of course, things of that nature. Crime's not even on this list. There's a huge spike in crime in urban areas. It's a big Biden failure. But the thing is that he can't be directly blamed for it. A lot of that is local. It's sort of like when people blamed Donald Trump, hint, hint, anomaly, for vaccine mandates, lockdownerism that he had nothing to do with actually creating. We'll get to some super chats here, but please do read the Substack article. Make sure to subscribe to the Substack account as well. I'm trying to get to 5,000 followers on there before the end of the year. That's pretty beefy. Substack, of course, is basically the free speech version of Medium, and it makes sense to use it. Adonis Adams, if demons come to you on their own, how do you get rid of them? Well, you don't. Why would you want to? I have two cats. Yeah, there are two cats here. They might fight. I'm not sure. This is normally Farah's spot, but Yana has taken to trying to take over her territory. Meanwhile, Farah is trying to take over our bed. So there's like constant, it's like watching Game of Thrones, I guess. Not a banned account. Will the brave men and women of the military who refuse the jab get their rank and postings back when the courts defeat the unlawful mandates? It's not entirely clear. Wouldn't that go through military tribunal? not exactly the same. I mean, the threshold is different for evidence there. Alamandorius, I was sitting here waiting, and YouTube didn't start you up and moved me to a Fox clip. Ugh. Morning, glorious Clankmaster. Are you doing well? I'm doing very well. Also, it's almost 50 degrees, which, like, by Rutland standards, like where I'm from, pretty warm for the middle of December. But yeah, I'm not surprised. Fox apparently plays a lot after my clips, which I don't like. There is, I can't remember the name of the app, but there is an app to actually prevent the legacy media bullshit from getting through. I can't remember the name of it. I know it's available for Chrome, Firefox, Opera, and most of the other major browsers, though. You'd have to look it up, though. I mean, I can't remember the name of it. Not a banned account. Will we see Biden and Kamala bring in President Hillary? No. Hillary Clinton will never be the president of the United States. Thank goodness. That won't happen. There's no methodology by which they could do that. Cold Summer 91. Could YouTube and Rumble become like MySpace and Facebook? In theory, yes, they could, because YouTube keeps making so many mistakes that it doesn't need to make. It already had a hegemonic control of the entire video making industry, and it's decided to alienate millions and millions of its own users in its haste to appease advertisers. This is a mistake that I hope Rumble does not follow through with, or any of the other sites, Odyssey, BitChute, etc. The Great Awakening. Who is your favorite metal band? And fuck Joe Biden. It depends on what kind of metal you're talking about. I'd say Black Sabbath overall, because, you know, even if they didn't, technically speaking, invent heavy metal, they are definitely very good, especially with the Aussie incarnations. Ronnie is great. I like his solo work better, though, than his work with Black Sabbath. Adonis Adams, how would you define propaganda, and how do you fight back against it? Propaganda is a willful attempt to manipulate others' view. It can be benevolent or malevolent, and depending on that is whether you would want to fight back against it at all. There's positive propaganda. Memetics is a form of propaganda that tends to be more grassroots, and it's people lashing out against, basically it's counter-propaganda, the nonsense you see from the legacy media. Which right now, by the way, to everyone watching, the legacy media has definitely, it is definitely partnered with the Joe Biden * administration. Oliver Darcy admitted to this days ago, bragged about it. That was, I think, 5 or 6 days ago. It's on record as having been something that Joe Biden's administration was actively seeking, which was to try to spin economic news. Apparently there was a poll that 6 in 10 people saw more negative than positive economic coverage. There should be nobody that saw more positive coverage. There is nothing positive about the current Biden economy, the Bidenomics. They briefly tried to seize that as a meme. Well, Bidenomics means more money in your pocket. Yeah, money that's being depreciated month over month at a huge rate. So they quickly backed off on that. I wonder why. Not a banned account. Have you heard the good news? He loved us so much he died for our sins, but rose again on the 3rd day. In his name is RoboCop. Alamandorius. I'll look it up when I get the chance. Tuesday, headed back to Canada after over a year in the U.S. Car trouble stopped me from going tomorrow. I can definitely say I see the appeal of the U.S. Well, yeah, the U.S. Still is the place to be. There are more rights. There is more of a chance to push back against the bullshit of the deep state. As opposed to like China. I love the Sinophiles because it's like, they'll say, well, China is based. Why? Because China has less rights for some group of people. And there's no way to address that. China is going on a spree right now of claiming that they're a democracy, which is the most laughable thing ever. Yes, you're a democracy with one particular ideology, and if you don't have that ideology, you can't run for office. That's what a republic, a properly functioning republic, is about. That was really what the founders had in mind, too. Darun Albane, keep that dang blood out of your caffeine stream. Yes, right now I have my lime drink, of course, with my BitChute mug. Reminding me to take a sip. Helps my voice when I have to speak for long periods of time. Alamandorius. Anyway, actual question. Do you think we're going to see more Antifa and BLM arrests now that they are no longer useful to the asterisk administration? Maybe more arrests, but not more prosecutions. It'll be basically show trial mode, where they'll bring them in and they'll say, look, we're doing our part against crime. And then they'll get a slap on the wrist. Hey, you have to, because of this vandalism charge, you have to scrub graffiti. You have to scrub the graffiti that you yourself made. That's what it'll be. Mexaman and Cheese. Lefties use apps that block lists of people on Twitter. I wonder how Twitter would react if we created a block list of all the blue check marks. The problem is that there are a handful of people with blue check marks that actually are reasonable. I will never be one of them because I've never sought the blue check mark thing. I don't understand the point. Twitter has made it clear that they'll only give it out to people that they approve of. The funny part is, of course, people who got it years ago before that happened, in many cases, still have them. Kind of skews their pitch. J-Dog, 100 years from now, how do you think historians will judge Biden's presidency? 100 years from now, I can't predict, but 10 years from now, they'll be saying, well, at least there were no mean tweets. That's what they will do. We are already, by the way, at 3 Biden loser units. That is over 900 people watching. Keep in mind, 300 people watching a live stream is about how many people actually pay attention to Joe Biden. Not in person. That's more like 10 people. And so that's a big success. Keep in mind, there is a pinned comment. If you're watching this video on YouTube, in the live chat there will be a link to a Substack article that I actually produced earlier today, a couple of hours ago. Actually, not even 2 hours ago. Ranking Joe Biden's top 10 failures. You can tell me whether you approve or disapprove of this list. I realize there are more than 10 failures. I'm well aware of this. I had to cut it down based on my own analysis. There are things that were left out that would, if you had a top 20 list, would probably be on there, but I did the best that I could, so don't sue me. Natarain, what are your thoughts about the metaverse? Is a VR world in which people can work, socialize, and spend their free time a good thing or inevitable? Well, basically, and I'll be making an exclusive tomorrow on the subject, what Facebook's metaverse is a dumbed down version of Second Life. Now, if you've never heard of Second Life, you can look that up. It's effectively the same thing. It's basically the overlapping of a VR or a video game, basically, with reality. Now, there are so many great possibilities for this. A person could be hooked up. Let's say a person has health problems. Other people could understand that that person is having a health problem simply because they're hooked into the metaverse and potentially deliver aid-saving lives. That's great. Security would be a big thing. A person who's a security guard could, in theory, could see through walls using a video hookup throughout a building. That's wonderful. The problem is, number one, is Facebook the group to actually create the metaverse? I would say no. And looking at their extremely dumbed down cartoonish VR, again, there will be an exclusive tomorrow on this. I don't think that that will happen. Number two, will it be a privacy violation? Yes, but people will willfully enter into it because they'll hook their whole home up with this, and they'll have their VR glasses on all the time and probably have major optical and mental issues as the result of this. I'm not interested myself. Maxwell Schulz, what's your opinion about the Talmud? Just like any other religious text, take it or leave it. There are some parts that make sense, and there are plenty of parts that don't. Hank Hill, how do I deal with the increased cost of propane and propane accessories? Well, you can use butane, the bastard gas. It's probably cheaper. Cold Summer 91, we seem to be seeing World War II levels of anti-Semitism around the world. Do you think we will see the rise of a problematic group somewhere? No, I don't really think so. Not in the West. In the West, in many countries, you're not even allowed to speak badly of certain groups of people because you'll be arrested for it. So, Zachary Antle, you still watch Dave Cullen? He says he's an anti-vaxxer now, and we'll talk about chemtrails soon. Personally, I've lost a lot of respect for him, which sucks. Yes, I watch Computing Forever, and I believe in his right to free speech. I don't agree with everything that he says. I will point out that the reasons that he was banned were spurious. He was removed off YouTube and Twitter and so forth. I didn't understand it. He's he may be an anti-vaxxer, but I think that's related more to COVID than vaccines in general. To be clear, in my opinion, I am pro-vaccine. Vaccines are very, very helpful. I just think that attempting to eliminate a disease by vaccinating for it when it has a 0.01% death rate and an extremely high transmissibility is fruitless. And I'm not alone in believing that. I speak for the medical community, I think, too. Yeah, they just don't want to speak out too much. They're afraid of being canceled. Uper0987, Biden is doing worse than Carter ever did. I remember those days and caused me to vote Republican, starting with Reagan in 1984. So you got the golden era of the Muppets and shit like that. You were lucky. I only got the tail end of that shit. Marvin Remeyer. Jimmy Dore show banned me from Superchat for asking about Ray Epps not being arrested. I have no clue who that is. And Dore is one of the less draconian leftoids. Alamandorius, I read it and agree, although I would have put the border ahead of inflation. Reason being the long-term consequences that it could have versus the comparatively short term of inflation. Yes, but it's not going to be short-term inflation. The Fed retired the term transitory for a reason, my dude. I have a feeling that this inflation will last well after the midterms, which is a disaster for Biden. You look at the matchups between a potential Trump-Biden run in 2024, and you can see it for yourself. It's not looking good for the Dems. Triggers McNickers. I'm seeing a rise in fake Patriot veteran accounts shilling for globalism. I foresee a return attempt at misdirecting nationalism like they successfully did during the 9/11 panic. Yes, there are attempts at shilling going on actively. It happens all the time. Like they try to misdirect people and say, well, the people you're being abused, but the people abusing you are just a bunch of rich people. Hey, side with the leftoids. We need more taxes. The Grizzly, hey Styx, what do you think of spooky games? I was curious because they just announced a sequel to Alan Wake, a game based on Stephen King about a small Washington town where a dark presence possesses the townful. I've never heard of spooky games. I like some of Stephen King's work, although I don't like him as a person. I think that speaks for a plurality of people that like horror literature. I wish he'd do some splatterpunk literature, like Craig Skip and John Spector with The Bridge or The Scream. Son of Tiamat. Many still falsely believe fascism and Nazism are right-wing despite all evidence to the contrary. How do we combat this? Well, you just got to point out leftism is essentially economic centrality. Right-wing ideology, I mean, if you boil it down to the most simple common sum denominator, is decentrality within the economy, free markets and so forth. It's an element of libertarianism, but it doesn't go into the moral side of things. I would say that the Nazis were definitely far left. They had an extreme centrality in mind. The fascists were left wing. The idea was that corporate power was fine, but you are subjugate to the state. Essentially, like Mussolini's ideology is no different from modern day China. The Grizzly. Also, odds on Boudin being the 2024 nominee if the Republicans hold the Senate in 2022. I think there is a less than 50-50 chance that Biden's the nominee. Between him and Kamala, you get over 50%, but you have to combine the two of them together. If they're wise, they'll go with either Buttigieg. I realize he has plenty of problems. I wouldn't vote for him, but he'd be more viable. Younger, certainly more well-spoken than Kamala and demented Biden, or Joe Kennedy. Joe Kennedy would be one that people could get behind potentially, but he'd have to run on the, hey, I told you so, the leftoids are destroying the party platform. It's not clear that that kind of platform is capable of being fielded until we see the midterms. Until after the midterms, all speculation about 2024 should be more or less off the table. Crimes against humanity. The price of everything is shooting up here in Wisconsin. Thanks, Beijing Biden. Those magic ballots that showed up in Madison at exactly 12 p.m. really helped us. Wink. Yeah, I think a lot of people feel the same way. Menstruating person of color. I told my employer that taking boosters might negatively affect my gender dysphoria, so they don't bother me anymore. Oh, congrats. Yeah, that's probably, I guess you judged that was the right thing to do. I'm hoping that that's not trolling, by the way. The Human Centipede. Hey, Styx, I sent you 2 DMs earlier this week regarding our business venture together, but didn't hear back. It's fine, though, because I know you're busy. Yes, I will get to those later. Keep in mind, Send me another message. Just send anything, just to like random characters or something, just to boost it to the top so that I'll actually see it, because it gets buried. And that's really become a problem. You got fucking 83,000 people following you on Twitter and don't even advertise it. It becomes a little bit much, because YouTube is no longer a DM machine. I don't get messages on YouTube because they don't have a messaging system. So I'm sorry about that. I'll try to get to it, but please do send me a message. Just send like, you know, a screed of random characters or something. Alamandorius, when I say short term, I'm talking less than 10 years. I know politically 2 to 3 years is long term, but yeah, true. Yeah, I would agree with that. Although it depends on the issue, I guess. Cold Summer 91, what do you think of the U.S. boycotting the Winter Olympics? Again, link in the chat if you're on YouTube. There is a link to the Substack article that I made. Effectively, you have a half-assed boycott of the Chinese Olympics. It doesn't involve the Olympic team. It involves a handful of diplomats. I think that it's bullshit. Biden's half-assing it. He's trying to look like he's doing something about those Chi-coms over there without actually doing anything. He won't even talk about the fact that China developed COVID as a bioweapon. He won't talk about that. He hasn't continued attempting to balance trade with China, which Trump was doing, and he was making some progress. He's not doing anything. It's just like the idea of tackling Russia by saying, well, it'll be real hard if you attack the Ukraine. Meanwhile, he removes sanctions on the Nord Stream pipeline that Russia's making through Germany, etc., and then nixes the Keystone deal, which also is, by the way, mentioned in the Substack article. I mean, the dude's nuts. Crimes against humanity. I meant 12 a.m. Yeah, well, it doesn't really matter. It's all good. Cletus Christ. Watching the I believe in science people desperately outflank religious people as the least likely people to actually science has been wild, man. Clank. Yeah, it is funny. Science is apparently not believed in by science believers. Very bizarre times that we live in. General Mayhem, $10. No comment. Thank you. Not a band to count. Advice on getting through to my Gen X peers that modern home solar has gotten better in 30 years. UV panels work on cloudy days. Darn it. Annoying. Yes, home solar is much more efficient now. You'd have to look up statistics as far as their efficiency. I know that it has risen substantially. To be clear, I am a proponent of home solar because now the amount of energy required to mine the minerals, etc., to produce the panels is considerably less than the amount over its lifetime that it will be expected to create. There's still problems. Recycling is definitely one of them. The fact that the minerals come from China is another one. Japan, though, has a lot of those same minerals. It would cost more, but it would still be more efficient. Better than wind in most parts of the world. The Human Centipede, just a heads up, I won't be able to talk today because I'm about to sleep and I'm going to be super busy tomorrow, but should be able to chat tomorrow. Super busy today, but should be able to chat tomorrow. That's fine. Peace out, my man. Jim Spruill, keep up the content. Look forward to your videos on the daily. Straight to the point. Being a Virginia resident, your analysis was spot on with what we saw here. Keep it up. Yes, much more commentary to follow. The Grizzly, what's your favorite archaeological subject to study and why? What was your favorite culture to study and learn about? I took an advanced course called Archaeology of the Caribbean, actually with John Kroc at UVM, Professor Kroc. I'm assuming he still works there. He was on the youngish side. I thought it was great. Yeah, talking about the colonial era. There's the Archaic era, the Taino people, the Caribs, which the etymology of that actually evolves into cannibal. The term cannibal comes from cannibas, which comes from Carib, which was within that region. Doesn't come from the South Pacific. A lot of people think that it does. If you watch like Gilligan's Island or something, you think it was there in the Pacific. No, it comes from the Caribbean. Carib, specifically, the etymology that leads to that. I think his main work was on Antigua, if I believe. And most of the remains there are literally just pieces of dirt where posts, like wooden posts, have degraded into the soil. And so there will be like dark vertical marks in the soil, and you can sort of look at them. And then the middens, shell middens mainly, piles of trash that were left behind by the people there. Jesse Ventura, I have never believed in what my government has told me, but wear your mask and get vaccinated. Yeah, I've noticed that logic holds true for a lot of people. BW, what do you think about Biden suing Texas? I think that he's an idiot, but then I've thought that from day one. He'll lose. Darun Albane, Fed flat tax, no write-offs. Zero Fed business tax. States only do sales tax, including businesses, to create competition. Yeah, I'd like a flat tax. It would make more sense in the situation we've got now. Certainly property taxes should be eliminated altogether, because essentially it turns you into a renter on your own property. By the way, on Twitch, Struggle Busted is pointing out something that's actually very true. But it takes petroleum products to make solar panels, deliver and install solar panels. Yes, the whole goal should be in shipping, in industrial, like mining and things, processing. You have to use fossil fuel and or nuclear. For everything else, there's solar. The average home with enough solar panels on it is more or less self-sufficient. Wind in some parts of the world can also be very good, although they do let those aluminum fan blades rust out in the desert usually when they outlive their usefulness. I don't know why they don't have systems for recycling them, probably due to efficiency. But yes, fossil fuel is king and will always be king because it's more usable for mobile industrial purposes, dump trucks, bulldozers, etc. Kind of hard to power them with electrical systems. You can. I'm wondering about the efficiency rate. I don't think that it would be worth it. Adonis Adams, do you believe Lilith is Adam's first wife? No, because there never was an Adam and Eve. The story is bullshit. There never was a Garden of Eden or any of these other things. That's what I believe. It doesn't make sense. It's horse shit, basically. That being said, if you look at just the religious canon, yes, Lilith would be Adam's first wife, if you believe in that canon. Zach the Celtic Sky, Biden is undermining our reputation in the world. Absolutely agreed. By a significant margin. Rebel Embassy, long libtard is more of an issue than long COVID. Yeah. Leaf on the Wind, $4.99, no comment, thank you. William Amiot, does the copyright work with the books you edit? I'm thinking of editing some older anarchist and libertarian stuff. Any advice? If it's before the 1920s, it's out of copyright, but you may still be called upon to prove that, which means that you need to have a working, preferably digital, if you're using Amazon, copy that you're using. If you can show, hey, look, it was made in 1890, this person's been dead for 100 years, there's no problem. Not a banned account. Will we see a divided states of America soon? No, I don't believe that that will happen. Cold Summer 91. Do you think we will see the 1950s again? Well, I mean, if it's the 1950s with good Wi-Fi, that's okay. I'd rather go back to the 80s, though. Michael D'Angelo, in your opinion, what would an election look like with Michelle Obama? She's already ruled that out. It would be a wash, though. She'd never win, which is why she won't run. Kay Shepherd, all hail the goddess Lilith. King Salmonfish, yo Styx, thanks for leading me to break the rules. Been having fun freaking them out. You and I were some of a few coherent men Trump-wise. Respect. Yeah, Break the Rules is pretty good. Look up the Break the Rules podcast on cross-platform, and you should subscribe to them as well. And you should also, while you're at it, for those of you that didn't hear, there is a pinned comment actually on chat, if you're on YouTube at least, to a Substack that I made earlier. You should read that. It's about Biden's various failures and my analysis of the top 10 list. Not a banned account. When will the space program deliver us hot alien space babes that CBS promised us in the 60s to seek out new life and seduce it? Yeah, there's a certain 90s space-related show, the name of which I'm not even allowed to say on YouTube and probably not on Twitch, that I like. It's gay black men from outer space. You should definitely watch that. It's a satire. It's Danish made. Just watch that. J20s. Do you think Dems made a deal with PharmaCorp to help win presidential election? Delay progress updates until after the election. Will mandate as many as you like, kind of thing. No, I don't think it was that. I mean, those were definitely Biden donors by and large. Mainly it was Silicon Valley and, you know, the deep state at large. G-Sticks, do you have an M in one or both palms? Yeah, in both of them, I guess. I don't look at the lines as much. The chirognomy book that I edited more recently deals with the mounds. With me, I think it's the mound of Venus that's the largest, and the mount of the moon second to that. Finger length, finger shape, etc. So it's hit or miss. Some of it's accurate, some of it falls short as far as my personality. Crimes against humanity. I don't think pro-choicers realize just how unpopular abortion still is. I've noticed that it's mostly upper-class white females that are pro-choice. In fact check, mostly false. Abortion being a right is popular in the United States. There's consistent polling on this, and not just from the legacy media polling firms. What is not popular is unlimited abortion. That is, that most people believe it should remain legal. They want to uphold Roe v. Wade, but they want the current limitations on it. And you can dicker about what those limitations are, but they do not want abortion banned. It's a super majority of the U.S. public, actually. Byron 8899, National Guard is corrupted. They have been aiding illegals crossing the Texas border, and they are trying to silence the press for filming them. That's happened for a long time. One-Eyed, thanks for recommending Gifts Ungiven. Love it. I also dabble in Synthwave on my YouTube as a hobby. Who are some of your favorite Synthwave artists? Godspeed from Montana. I like 6th June, which is, I believe, a Bosnian band, or is it Serbian? That would be one of my favorites. But basically, any dark Synthwave I like. I don't think that I've really found a darker Synthwave. Zeno and Oaklander is great, too. That can be dark, can be light. Soho Pictures, I think, was their best song. That's an instrumental, by the way. And I had an Ebola Chan song back during the Ebola epidemic and put that on there. And people liked it. I had to take it down due to copyright. I think it had 50,000 views, and that was years and years ago. That was before the 2016 election. So at that time, that was decent. Leaf on the Wind sending $4.99. No comment. Thank you. King Salmonfish, if you are interested, I've been developing some cool memetic and occult work on my YouTube. Projection Parallax, Objective Identity Matrix, Unifying Magic. Have to check that out. Daru and Albane, solar panels, depending on quality, last 15 to 30 years. To 50%, you will need to add remove one every 2.5 to 5 years. Yeah, but the efficiency has been rising steadily over especially the last decade. Now they've got ones that are paper thin and flexible, so they've gotten a lot better than the ones that Carter put on the White House in the mid-70s. Altas 85, any opinion on Curtis Yarvin? Literally never heard of him or her. Let's go over to Odyssey. There might be some chats there. Island Playa, look up Harry Vox on BitChute. Very entertaining and talk sense. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. Kenny G, first time live watch here, Odyssey. Clank, clank. Thank you very much for the clank. KL, hello. Well, hello. Punished Gremlin. Hey, Styx, are there any occult topics that you would like to see more of in video games and media? I love games that have a lot of occultism or at least spirituality. And that's why I like Skyrim. I realize there are a million limitations on that game, but the inclusions that they have, yeah, there's a lot of magic and stuff going on. I really liked the herbalism. I want, for the next Elder Scrolls title, by the way, that Bethesda makes, possibly in partnership with other game developers, I really want to grow my own herbs and have like a big-ass occult garden in a settlement that I have created from the ground up, with dwarven turrets and golems and weird shit like that. It's sort of like Fallout 4. I want them to do the settlement system of Fallout 4 overlapped with Elder Scrolls. Thankfully, they seem to be conjoining these two iterations of gaming very, very closely, and they're co-evolving. So I believe that will probably happen. And if it doesn't, I will be very, very upset. Just to be clear to the people at Bethesda, if you do not have a settlement system or something roughly akin to it in the next Elder Scrolls title, it will be a travesty to me, and the game will be shit to me, and I won't even bother to play it. BC, please go into more detail on Beto and his run for governor in Texas. I live in Dallas and want to know what to expect from your perspective. Thanks. He's well behind and will remain well behind. He's a meme candidate. I love when the leftoids play him up. They're also doing the same to Stacey Abrams in Georgia. She's running again for governor. She's got more of a chance than Beto, though, because Beto will do cringy things. Nobody takes him seriously. Basically, Greg Abbott is reasonably weak as a governor, but as COVID begins to go the way of the dinosaurs, a moral panic, Abbott's going to be rising. Beto was the one that went to the border there, and what was it, El Paso or something? He actually went to the border, unlike Kamala Harris, in the same city, and said, "Whoa, I want to tear down these walls." He was trying to do like a combination Martin Luther King and Ronald Reagan thing. He's like, "Oh, Donald Trump, tear down these walls," and he's flailing around, literally, like I'm not being hyperbolic. He's flailing around like this, like he's a goddamn televangelist or something. This is the most cringy fucking shit I've ever seen. And that follows on the wake of him skateboarding out, like practically dabbing, skateboarding out onto the stage. Beto's not going to be elected. Oh, Jesus, no. Gannicus82, what are your thoughts on the GD system versus other systems, i.e. Solomonic magic, PGM, shamanism? I don't have any particular thoughts. My own system of magic is just I do a huge amount of editing, read a huge amount of books, and I incorporate over time. I absorb slowly chunks, components of them. Where I see systems overlapping is where I give precedence. So if you have two religions that supposedly never communicated and they have a significant overlap, I give that overlap more significance. And then I look into things like that, especially those that attempt to synthesize. Opinionated Junkie, thoughts on Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines? I never heard of it. Vampires are cool, though. They need to have an open world vampire game or some shit like that. I know, it probably already is one, and I'm just a Luddite and don't understand. Adonis Adams, Babylon is greater than Lilith. No, Babylon's cool. BW, do you think anyone in our government or military gives a shit about this country? Why does it seem like our country is being taken over from the inside? Well, in the federal government or in the brass of the military, very few of them do. In the rest of the military, from the lower command on down, which is 99% of it, and in the local and most state rungs of government, oh, yeah, a lot of people care about the country. They've got skin in the game. They're not part of the billionaire globalist crowd that has investments in China. You see, you get an illusion that nobody cares. No, really what it is the people at the very top don't care. They don't care because if the United States collapses, well, we got money in China, we got money in the UK, we got money in France, we got money in the Netherlands. I have got investments in Mongolia. They don't care, at least for self-serving purposes. And everyone, ultimately, charity begins at home. People look out for themselves first. That's just the way that it is. This is a human tendency. Selflessness it takes the back door when people believe that they need to do something for themselves for survival. These people have been corrupted into believing that if they don't increase their wealth to obscene levels, that it impacts their survival because their ego has kicked in. They're literally mentally ill on some level. I pity them to some degree. Desiccated Corpse, Bethesda have screwed up their last few games. I still play Skyrim until this day, going on 10 years now. Makes my Viking side coom. I like Fallout 4. I know that a lot of people had shit to say about it. Look, it was bigger. It was more advanced. You can't argue the settlement system and the ability to craft your own house wasn't an improvement that was literally expected by the gamers that were playing Fallout 3. That was one of the things I had reviewed at the time. I said, look, one of the biggest problems of the game is the limitations on housing. One of the most fun parts of Fallout 3 was taking shit, random junk and quest items back from the quests and shit that you did, and decorating your home in Megaton or in Tenpenny Tower thereby. Well, in Fallout 4, you can make your own house. You can make display cases. You can do a million things. It was a huge improvement, and I don't think Bethesda gets enough credit for what they did. They listened to the modders, especially, which I predicted that they would, and they went forth. And if they listen to the modders based on Fallout 4, Fallout 5 is going to be goddamn crazy. It's going to be like one of the best games ever. I just hope it's bigger. I would like to see a little bit more focus on the player interactions of the quest line. I'd like to see more RPG elements. If they can combine more RPG with a generally better game, which, I mean, in general, it's going to have to be graphically, etc. It'll probably be larger in general. better RPG, better quest line, and then more customization, the ability maybe to build like, you know, random turret outpost in the middle of nowhere just because you want to, just to kill things, it would be great. It would be the best game ever. Maddocaster, Bush was lampooned as a buffoonish caricature. As you note, he wasn't as dumb as he let on. I feel like we're seeing the inverse with Joe Biden, an actual buffoonish caricature, but isn't ridiculed like Bush was. Your thoughts? Yeah, I think that's a pretty good take. By the way, I'm all fuzzy here. Yeah, just a sec. There, you can see my palm. You see my M. Will it? Yes. Okay, it focused better. Autofocus, you cannot turn off for some reason on this camera using StreamYard. Yeah, I would agree with your summation. I think that's true. Not a banned account. Have you covered the hypocrisy of Christian clergy condemning magic? If they're not practicing in private, they all do ritual magic in communion. Yes, communion is just an invocation and a ritual. It is the same thing. Yeah, Zane Zach on Twitch saying, Beto is a meme, but he's better than the current governor. No, I wouldn't say he's better. He literally believes in tearing down the existing border fortifications. Just to be clear, he is probably the most extreme anti-borders Democrat, bar none. That's not an exaggeration. He's also desperately anti-gun. I don't think that'll fly in Texas, which I don't expect he'll win because of this. Denine Beto gets rich by running for office. I don't think he even expects or wants to win. Yeah, that's the other thing. If you run for office and you just make a fool of yourself, at least you can get a book deal. Some people will still agree with you. If only 1% of the U.S. population takes you seriously, it's still 3 million people. Well, 3.5 or 4 million at this point. Well, they can buy a lot of books. That's a big audience. A lot of YouTubers wish they could get to that point. Leaf on the wind. Hey, Styx, do you think if the Dems lose by enough in 2022, Biden will pull a Bud Dwyer? I don't know who Bud Dwyer is. I expect that if the Democrats get crippled in 2022, he'll come out initially and try to salvage things, blame the far left and say, well, we tried. I understand that people are hurting. Well, it's not my fault. I'm going to try to do better. And then he'll do the pity me bullshit. He's been doing it anyway. Crimes against humanity. I laugh when military personnel start complaining about military vax mandates. It's literally what they signed up for. The military is about following orders without question. I agree. For this one group of people, they have signed up and utterly subjugated themselves to the government's authority, to the federal government. Not guardsmen, like the actual soldiers. You don't get to refuse the vaccine. If you get a dishonorable discharge because of that, I'm sorry, but there is no constitutional protection for you. It does not exist. You're the one group of people who sold your soul in order to fight for Uncle Sam. Well, I may pity you, but, you know, Mr. Friendly Bee. Styx, do you know who Mauro Biglino, the Italian Bible analyst who knows both Hebrew and ancient Greek languages? No, and I've never heard of him. Startorius, keep on clanking, Styx, from a New York Rochesterian. Keep doing what you're doing. I keep seeing I did this stickers on the pumps and now $1.25 stores. Yes, there are no dollar stores left in parts of the U.S. Now they're $1.25 or even $1.50 stores. Shindig listener, was Tartaria the land of giants who ruled the world and built the mud-flooded temples and destroyed beautiful American buildings from 1,000 years ago? I don't know. I think you mean the mound building civilizations. They pretty much just up and died. I think they got tuberculosis. I guess the theory is when the Vikings crossed over, tuberculosis entered into the Americas from them, from seals as well, from sealing. That got into the Eskimo, the Inuit population, and then it spread through trade, which is feasible. It's possible. Which means, by the way, the latter-day colonial explorers, they didn't have much to do because the population was already 1/10 of what it was. Mark Peterson, I'm very new to watching your occult videos. Can you please explain what books you edit or sell? Sorry for my stupidity on the subject. Still waiting to buy my clanking sticks. I edit out of copyright books. That means pre-1920s mainly, on the occult, religious history, spiritual anthropology, folklore collections, fortune-telling guides, everything that I can get my hands on. I've been doing that for years. So those are the kind that I edit. generally speaking. And also I do author my own works. I've got a bunch of compilations. I'm awaiting making them into hardcovers. I'm going to do a test hardcover, by the way, announcement of Book of Forbidden Knowledge first, because it is my long-term bestseller. So I'll be making a hardcover of that as soon as possible. I'm halfway through the final edit of that. It's been reformatted. I'll do new cover art. And I'm going to see how that works because I've never done a hardcover before. Chuck Flea. And by the way, please don't send any more super chats. I got a bunch more to go through still. And we're up on 45 minutes. Chuck Flea, is there an algorithm with Tinder like YouTube? I have no clue. I've never used Tinder. I'm not desperate. Alex Bogey, why is it 12 days of Christmas? Calendar difference? I don't know. I thought it was the 25 days of Christmas, wasn't it? That's what they always advertise on TV, at least back in the 90s. Joe Biden, I created more jobs than Trump. Oh, where am I? Yeah. Yeah, I love it when they say that. It's like, okay, in the first year of Biden, more jobs were created in the first year of Trump. Now compare it to the last year of Trump. That's the recovery. It's like 5 times as many. The Agal faces. Hi, Styx. I'm so glad to be back in the USA. It's so sad to see your birthplace, Puerto Rico in my case, becoming an authoritarian, unsafe, covetous hellhole. Well, Puerto Rico already had crime problems and stuff anyway, so now you just got the plandemic and its unfortunate response. It's authoritarianism. Mr. Pockets, first time ever super chat. I love the settlement system of Fallout 4, but I feel like they focused it too much. The DLC was lacking. Love from New Hampshire. Yeah, that's the other problem. If you decided to go it alone, if you decided, yeah, fuck the settlements, you just have one to build, the relay maybe, and you just go forth, there was a huge disadvantage. It made no sense not to have the settlements. The other problem is in the base game, if you didn't mod it, and my game, to be clear, when I say that the game is really great, it's heavily modified, which Bethesda, I'm sure, looks at. Touch of Green, what was it? We Are the Minutemen, about a dozen other mods. The base game really rewards users for having settlements set up. It also then is a detriment because when you're fast traveling around, the likelihood of any given settlement being attacked increases more and more as you have more settlements because they're calculated differently. And it doesn't matter in the base game how much defense there is. With the mod, with the unofficial Fallout 4 mod, which you can get on Nexus, it relates the likelihood per game day of a settlement being attacked partially to defense. So your defense has to be higher than the amount of food plus water that you're creating. And I think shops are calculated in, but I'm not sure how. In the base game, they weren't. Didn't matter if you had 200 turrets there, just as likely to be attacked as any other settlement. And so if you have 20 settlements, you've got like a 1 in 5 chance every time you fast travel more than halfway across the map of having something attacked, which means you are constantly going back to fend off attacks. Well, with the mods, that's not as much of a problem. They definitely need to alter it, and I hope that they do. The Grizzly, last question. Do you think the Dems will hold the Senate or lose in 2022? I think they will lose the Senate. All signs point towards a wash for the Democratic Party. Meximan and Cheese. You think the Biden puppet masters are floundering because of diversity over merit, clout over substance, mentality, or infighting? All of the above. And that really brings us to the central problem of the Biden administration. All of it. They have every problem. Name a problem that you could have politically and economically. They have it right now. I mean, it's not even sane. It's a worse version of Jimmy Carter. Don't even bother comparing him to Jimmy Carter. He's also got Gerald Ford's balance and George W.'s honesty. Ketchup. Which Euro countries do you like the most, and do you think any Euro countries in particular will become rough in the next few decades? Well, the EU is showing signs of strain anyway. I like the Netherlands, but I'm biased because I'm currently here in the Netherlands. I like Poland is nice, at least civically. I know there's poverty problems and other issues too. The Czech Republic, I think, is pretty nice, and they have basically a light version of the Second Amendment now, so that's one I'd like to see. I'd like to see Prague. I'd like to see that little Jewish shop where they say that there's still a golem up in the attic, the Golem of Prague. Famous story, by the way. That one looks interesting. Crimes against humanity. My friend Thomas Sheridan has a channel on YouTube called Beyond Room 313. It's an anthropology and occult theme channel. Please check it out. Okay, there is a shout out for Thomas Sheridan's Beyond Room 313. Everyone should take a look at that. And to the Substack that's, again, in the chat above. Michael D'Angelo, how do you feel about woke culture trying to cancel Michael Jackson? I agree, Rageaholics take. Zero evidence against him. I think he was attacked for exposing elites and having conservative views. I think they attacked him because they realized, hey, if we take him down, we'll make a shit ton of money off the tabloids. And the tabloids didn't like him because he didn't give them the time of the day, which Razorfist also pointed out. No, I do not believe that Michael Jackson ever did anything with any children. There's no evidence of it. He's done a good 3-part video series debunking it. There's no evidence. When Rush Limbaugh is on board defending Michael Jackson, don't you think that the cat is out of the bag as far as his innocence? Shindig listener, look up mud flood buildings. It's interesting. Leaf on the Wind, look up Bud Dwyer. He's a former Pennsylvania treasurer from when my parents were kids. Let's just say he went out with a splash. Oh, he drowned himself? Well, that's rather sad. Zadie Shaddocks, $5. No comment, thank you. By the way, please, no more super chats. We're at almost 51 minutes in the show. Not a banned account. When the jabbed realize they are infertile, will they come out for precious bodily fluids by force? At least only the pure bloods will perpetuate. I don't think that will end up happening, but we are seeing some vascular issues, of course, with regards to things. I can't say anymore. This is also a YouTube stream, but look up the vascular issues regarding certain COVID-related activities. Be messy. Beefy King, do you think dropping the 666 will bring in more subs because of Christians' ignorance? It's not ignorance. It's more like, people are just superstitious. And, I don't want people to have bizarre views subscribing because they won't understand my content. I don't have anything against them. It's just, you're not going to appreciate my kind of commentary if you believe that way. Desiccated Corpse. I liked Fallout 4, but they totally screwed up 76. Agreed, by the way. Other than the bugs, it was just an empty world with shit to do. I haven't played it in ages, though, so I may have changed. Recommend Fallout 1 and 2. I like Fallout 4 the best. I played New Vegas. It's all right, but it's Glitch City. Fallout 3 was good, but again, the limitations in that game were addressed by a lot of the modifications they made for Fallout 4. And I hope that they do the same with 5. Brap. 2022, the year of hashtag Tartaria, Mudflood Theory. Amasong, a 90s issue of Fate magazine, had an article about the Golem of Prague, but the cover art featured Golem instead. Whoops! That doesn't surprise me with Fate magazine. I got a few copies of that I got in an occult lot once, and some weird shit. The Great Scalzini, next Euro country to vote for a UK referendum in your opinion? That's impossible to say, but I think it'll be in Western Europe based on economic views. I think we'll go over to Odyssey here really quickly. We have Lazarus666. There is an emoji of the little Odyssey spaceman pissing on the YouTube logo. I know they modified that for Rumble as well. By the way, I don't have any side that I take in the Odyssey Rumble dust-up. I think it's unhelpful for there to be one. Femboy Baroness, I normally love redheads, but Jen Psaki makes me irrationally angry. Evil ginger demon who literally forces her 3-year-old to wear a mask because she's that much of a Karen. Ugh. Yeah, Jen Psaki, I don't envy her job, though. Imagine how much stress she's under. She has to cover for Joe Biden. Maybe we shouldn't judge her too harshly. We can say she's a cutthroat and stuff like that, maybe so, but I mean, come on. When you get that kind of job, you got to be able to lash out at someone. You can't lash out at your boss that keeps making you cover for his ass. Literally speaking, when he shits himself. Lev Polyakov, looking forward to Styx versus Jonathan Peugeot on Christianity on BreakTheRules.tv this coming Thursday. Yes, this coming Thursday. And I think it was at 8 a.m. Eastern time, which is like 2 or something my time. I'm not good at time zones. My apologies. I will be having a debate, actually, with Jonathan Peugeot, and I'm probably mispronouncing the name. My apologies. It's not on purpose. On BreakTheRules.tv. They are on YouTube. They are on, I believe, Odyssey and other sites as well. The Dex J, hey Styx, I think Joe Biden will die in office. Your thoughts? Well, he is 78 and he's had an embolism, a couple aneurysms, 3 falls in the last year. Whether he dies or not, incapacitation, dementia and shit, better than 50-50 chance. I would agree with that. And the last one, please do not send any more super chats or chats on Odyssey because I have other things to do. There's meat thawing. I have to make shepherd's pie. Mr. Twisted Frenzy, what's your opinion on the new religious-like movement coming out of the left? Should Christians be concerned with it overtaking them, or do you think it will die out? It's pseudo-religious, and it's not going to make any religion die out. Christianity is beginning to decline because of the mixed signals that Christian churches give to their adherents. So one day they're all right-wing. They're like, gay people go to hell. Abortion makes you go to hell. Doing weed makes you go to hell. And then like you go on a few years later, there's pride flags everywhere and a woman is the priest and they're talking about wokeness. Well, I mean, you try to change that quickly for grifting purposes to get teenagers to go to church. The fuck? I don't understand. The strategy does not make sense. The gates of the Catholic Church ultimately in the end fell before the armies of hell. If you actually believe in that sort of hyperbolic statement with regards to Romanism. And they're not the only ones. It's most of them. So yeah, I think I will go off here. This has been a really good chat. Fun to talk about Beijing Biden failing. I know it's low-hanging fruit. You could make a 10-hour stream and we probably wouldn't even be able to go through all the ways in which he's failed. That being said, keep in mind, if you are still watching on the chat here on YouTube specifically, up above, there is still a pinned comment to the Substack that I wrote earlier. Please do give it a read and fucking share it out and stuff like that because it'll be funny. I've had leftoids chuckling about the fact that I have a Substack. And I'm like, oh, well, more people are following me there than ever knew you existed. So I don't know why you're chuckling. What's this about? Oh no, that evil Glenn Greenwald, the far righter, popularizing the service. By the way, to Storm Over Crin 04, take care, Stick. Shepherd's pie sounds good. Yes. Oh, it was my favorite as a kid. I make it kind of in my mom's style, except Liz wants cheese on top. I don't eat it with the cheese. I just add ketchup. And unlike my mom, I season the potatoes. She's more of a New Englander when it comes to her tastes. And I go abroad in fucking Texas, Florida, the Netherlands. I'm like, hey, can you have some more spice on this? I think it's great. You should see the number of herbs and spices that we actually have. And so far, no spice rack, although it is, I believe, on its way. It's formidable. It's about twice as many as my mom ever had on her rack, and half of hers were for Christmas cookies. That's about all. Peace out.